Hi guys, so I want to say a big thank you to one of my supporters who sent me this video. It's Michael Gove, being interviewed about Brexit and fishing just before Boris Johnson won his majority back in 2019. Now, this is from a channel called Fishing for Leave. It's a group of Brexiteers in the fishing industry who supported Brexit, of course, and they had this channel. They have this channel. They haven't uploaded any content recently. I think the last videos were about a year ago, but you can still see some content which is interesting. Looking back on what lies were told. In this video, I want to show you Michael Gove interviewed by, I think, a member of either Fishing for Leave or a member of the general fishing community, the fishing industry in Scotland. And they're going to ask Michael Gove about the benefits of Brexit. Let's hear what he had to say.
We just had a meeting with the Scottish Fishermen's Federation and the Scottish Whitefish Producers Association. And Michael, I wonder if you could maybe say something about what we can look forward to, not just the sea of opportunity that we hear about, but in terms of what a Conservative majority government could provide for the fishing industry.
Well, if we have a Conservative majority government, we will be outside the common fisheries policy. And outside the CFP, there is huge opportunity for Scotland's coastal communities, especially here in the northeast. One of the things that we're absolutely clear about is that when we leave the European Union, we will be an independent coastal state in full control of our waters. And we'll negotiate with the EU for access to their markets for trade, but we'll have completely separate negotiations about access to our territorial waters.
So Michael is telling a lie here, because this is not how it turned out. Now, maybe he was mistaken. Maybe he didn't know it was going to be one negotiation for both. If he didn't know, then why did he promote the idea that there were going to be two negotiations? So either Michael Gove didn't know, or he was lying. Now, as Michael Gove has a track record of telling fibs, which do you think it was? Which do you think is more plausible? That Michael Gove didn't know what was going to happen, or he pretended not to know? Now, of course, there were no separate negotiations. There was one negotiation when it came to fish. Fish was the last issue dealt with in the negotiations between the European Union and the UK. And the deal that the fishing industry got was pretty bad. But let's continue.
They will be annual negotiations. Will be just like countries like Iceland and Norway.
So once again, this idea that, yeah, we can be just like Finland, just like Norway, just like Switzerland, just like Iceland, we'll be able to have our negotiations every year. This actually didn't turn out to be true. The negotiations are not every year. So once again, Michael Gove either lied or he didn't know. Why did he make promises? Why did he make statements that he, very confident statements about things that he didn't know? How would he have known at the time before the negotiations had started? What he was doing at the time, he was trying to sell Boris Johnson's oven-ready deal, the withdrawal agreement, which didn't talk anything about trade. So how could he have made confident statements about trade before the negotiations had even started? Unless he was planning to throw these people under a bus and just lied to them.
With full control over their waters. Other boats could come here, but only on our terms. And every year we'll renegotiate access, and that means that as our processing capacity grows, as our fleet grows, we will have first call on additional quota. I know there are some people who are worried.
What was very clever of the Brexiteers, and Michael Gove in particular, is that they focused on, we need to be able to catch more fish. The problem that the fishermen have is that they can't catch enough. Now, the fishermen wanted to catch more, and the European Union didn't want them to catch more because they wanted to protect these stocks. They wanted to limit the amount of fish that they did catch. And the fishermen, now, not all of them, but it seems to be that most of them believed, we just want to catch more. Because if we catch more, we'll be able to sell more and we'll be able to make bigger profits. To hell with the environment, to hell with the consequences of overfishing. We just want to catch as much as we can so we can sell as much as we can and make as much money as possible. The European Union is blocking us from doing that. Along comes Michael Gove and the Brexiteers who say, look, we're going to eliminate these restrictions. You can fish as much as you want. We can stop the others from coming in and fishing in your territory. And then they said nothing about how you're going to bloody sell the fish. Because the fish caught in UK waters is not consumed in UK waters, or very little of it is. Most of it is exported. So the Brexiteers were never for detail. They always said, look, you'll be able to catch as much fish as you want. And not one fisherman, or very few fishermen, said, and what about selling it? How are we going to sell it? If we're outside the customs union, will there not be restrictions? I know the Brexiteers would respond by saying, no, of course there'll be no restrictions. And then they just took it as that. They took Michael Gove's word as gospel. They took Boris Johnson's word as gospel. When Boris Johnson says something, if Boris Johnson says there'll be no problems, you must think the opposite. There will be problems. If Boris Johnson says black, you must think white. Whatever Boris Johnson says, the opposite is true. That's a general good rule of thumb when you're dealing with Boris Johnson or any of the Conservative cabinet. But these people continue to believe them.
That somehow access to our waters and access to the EU's markets will be mixed up. Absolutely not. They are.
Absolutely. So once again, that was a lie, or he was not informed. But he was very confident about his lack of information, a lack of knowledge.
Two separate negotiations, and we know that we can ensure that our fishing industry and our coastal communities thrive as a result of using those annual negotiations to build up our capacity. And as the Scottish Government, the SNP, have admitted, under Scottish Conservative policies, there'll be more jobs and more investment.
So there'll be more jobs and more investment. Now, I don't know who this guy is on the left, but I would love to go and speak with him and ask him, what do you think now? Are you still convinced that Brexit is a good idea? How do you respond to the fishermen who say we're not able to sell our fish because of all this new bureaucracy that we didn't have before? Yes, we're able to catch more fish, but what do we do with it? Now, this is not news, of course. This is an article from The World. It says Scottish fishermen, and this is on the 27th of January, Scottish fishermen say their industry is in crisis after Brexit. Scottish fisherman Alistair Sinclair hasn't taken his boat out since March of last year, the beginning of the pandemic. Sinclair has been a fisherman for over 40 years and says the industry has never experienced a crisis quite like this one. The crisis he's referring to is not the pandemic. It's Brexit. On the 1st of January, when Britain formally left the European Union, truckloads of fish has been stopped at ports on both sides of the English Channel. Fish producers and... No, sorry, I want to read this part here. As many as 4,000 or 5,000 families, this is what Mr. Sinclair said, 5,000 families around the coastline of Scotland are unable at this present time to put bread on the table and maintain their overheads. Now, so not all of the fishing industry is suffering, but a certain amount of it is, ones that are selling fresh fish. Now, there was an article also today about how unprocessed fish is going to be blocked from the European Union. The European Union said we're not accepting certain unprocessed fish, as in cleaned. This doesn't affect fish that's grown in farms, but this affects sea fish. Once again, I would like for Michael Gove to return to Scotland and explain the benefits of Brexit. But I don't think Boris Johnson or Michael Gove are planning to visit Scotland anytime soon, or especially the fishing communities in Scotland. It would be nice for them to go back to the fishing communities and explain how these problems of, bureaucracy and paperwork are not really issues after all. And that even though they're able to catch lots more fish, not being able to sell it really isn't that big of an issue. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?